are listening to the Stick and Hack Show, a show about golf and life from a stick and a hack. Now, here is your host, Adam Grubb and Mike Ryan.
All right, everybody, welcome in. This is the Stick and Hack Show. I'm your host, Adam Grubb, and that is Mike Ryan, the stick right there. Mike, welcome in. How are you?
I'm super, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. You just came back from a long, extended golf vacation, multiple days, multiple rounds. We're all very impressed. Good for you. Who cares? Moving on. If you want to know how Mike played, you want to see all that, go to our Facebook page. You can find out for yourself. We have a huge show. We have a huge show this week for you. We are going to be talking with Luke Reese. He is a business owner, author, golfer, and now a guest on the Stick and Hack Show. And he wrote a book called One for the Memory Banks. Luke Reese joins us here in just a little bit on the Stick and Hack Show. Mike, I want to first start up with the story of OTM. Okay? Now, do you know who OTM is?
I do, only because I have the copy.
Because you're reading.
And I've never heard him called OTM in my life, but
well, it's something I'm starting.
It is.
All right, it's something I'm starting. So OTM is Thomas Mitchell Morris Sr. You might know him better as Old Tom Morris. Old Tom Morris was born on June 16th, 1821. He was the son of a weaver and started playing golf at the age of 10, like most of us. Not the son of a weaver, but started golf at the age of 10. Local legend has it he used to knock wine bottle corks pierced with nails around the streets of the town using a homemade golf club. At the age of 14, he began an apprenticeship with Alan Robertson, generally regarded as the world's first ever professional golfer. As well as running St. Andrews Links, Robertson was also the owner of influential equipment-making business, and Morris spent a number of years working with and learning from him before leaving to take up a job at Prestwick Golf Club. Now, Mike, it was there that OTM had helped establish golf's first real professional tournament, the Open Championship.
So Morris, little tournament, little known tournament.
Yeah, a little tournament that he started called the Open Championship. Morris struck the first ever shot in the Open on October 17th, 1860, where a further 7 golfers joined him at Prestwick to vie for the challenge belt. So think about that. The Open was 7 golfers or 8 golfers, and they were going after a belt. Made from rich red Moroccan leather and embellished with a silver buckle and other emblems, the idea for the belt came from the Earl of Eglinton and was purchased by the Prestwick members. Now, sadly for Morris, there was to be no fairy tale win for him that first year. Instead, it was Willie Parks Sr. of Musselburgh who entered the history books as the first ever champion golfer of the year, beating Old Tom to the title by 2 shots. Old Tom would, though, win it the following year and 3 more times for good measure. His son, cleverly titled Young Tom, also won it on 4 occasions. Now, since that first event, the Open has become an annual fixture in the British Sporting Diary, and along with the Masters, the U.S. Open, and the PGA Championship, it's one of golf's first 4 majors, as we all know. Now, it has been held every year, with the exception of 1871, during the First and Second World Wars, and 2020, with the most recent edition in 2019 having been won by Shane Lowry. Now, the Irishman became the 85th different player to take the title, although players no longer play for the challenge belt. What do they play for, Mike?
I believe it's called the Claret Jug.
Oh, congratulations.
Is that correct?
Well done. No wonder you're a stick. Instead, the main prize is now the iconic golf champion trophy, more commonly known as the Claret Jug. It was first presented in 1872 when a new trophy was needed after the aforementioned young Tom Morris won the challenge belt outright in 1870 and apparently just decided to keep it and said, this is mine now. And then they said, oh no, we need another trophy. And so the Claret Jug was born. So that's the start of the Open. That is the story of OTM, Old Tom Morris and young Tom Morris. And we tell that story, Mike, because our guest today is, I would say, one of those world golfers. He is an author, he is a businessman, he is a traveler, and he's a golfer of some of the most iconic courses around. And his stories are legendary, so legendary that he wrote a book called One for the Memory Banks. We bring in now Luke Reese to the Stick and Hack Show. Luke, how are you?
Great, guys. Thank you so much. And Mike, after the show, I am perfectly happy to hear all about where you played and what you did. I just don't care about what you shot. Okay? So don't tell me, just tell me what you shot on 18. Right. Did you make a par on 18 and then move along?
Perfect.
But I'd love to hear about the courses.
Absolutely.
So go ahead, guys.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Luke is a graduate of the University of Michigan Law School and DePaul University. He is a U.S. Army veteran and a published author. You speak German and French fluently, Italian conversationally. For this interview, we will do English only because that's the only language I know.
Adam, I'm comfortable whichever way you want to go. Okay, as long as we can talk golf, I'm fine.
All right, that's the way I want to go. Luke, you are a Michigan Wolverine fan and a Cubs fan and an avid skier. You are world renowned when it comes to your legendary writing and your stories, and we are proud and honored to have you here on the program. You're the author of the book One for the Memory Banks. That is quite a resume, Luke. Tell us a little bit about obviously your golf and author and all that. Very impressive. But tell us a little bit about your career to date and where you started and where you are today for the listeners.
Well, first of all, I hadn't realized I had this hole in my resume up until now. I've got to go back and amend it and say he got a chance to be on the Stick and Hack show. So if I can basically get that one in there, guys, it's going to show up on a bunch of websites. So I'm all in. I have the luckiness of being born in a small town in Ohio with a father who said, if you want to get out of here, you got to learn languages. That's essentially what happened. And I did. And so I learned how to speak German. And then when I joined the military, I was sent overseas, and then I was taught by the military how to speak French. And so that sort of started an international career for me. I'm one of the luckiest guys on the planet because I get to do what I like to do all the time. I had a brief period where I was a lawyer and at a major law firm in Chicago. And it was like having my teeth drilled for about 2.5 years. And finally, one day, I just stepped up and said, this is crazy. I got to take a massive pay cut and go sell something. And I sold handlebars. And it wasn't even handlebars. It was an extension on the handlebars. So it was like much more minor than that. But it did pretty well. Wound up getting part of the company and then selling part of it. And then I joined Wilson Sporting Goods. And when I joined Wilson, I eventually became what was called the managing director of their global group, which is essentially the CEO. And I ran non-U.S. for a company called Amer Sports, which is Wilson, Atomic, and whatnot. Then after that, I was chairman of Peter Millar, apparel company in golf. And then
we've heard of them.
I appreciate that. It's a nice company. And then basically got involved and invested in a company called Shoes, which is that logo. Shameless plug here, right there.
No, it's very nice.
A shameless plug. And Brooke McKenzie runs that. And essentially the two of us, I was chairman for a while. And then we essentially combined with Titleist. And now that's sort of what I do. And essentially that's my golf career. I love it. I love playing golf. I didn't pick it up till I was age 34. And I've just had a blast. And I've met so many great people on the course. So that's enough.
So hopefully. Let's go. That's an incredible story. Let's go back for a half second. When you say that you learn languages, you learned the language of golf at 34 years old, which you don't hear much, especially for those that are in a golf career for 20 years or so. To hit golf at such a critical part of your life, kids and families and all that stuff, that's got to be something that you look back on and go, man, had I started 20 years before then, imagine what I would have accomplished.
It's actually a double-edged sword. I learned to play. It's essentially I'm a Scottish golfer. I learned to play, and I was trained by Scots. And I was talking to somebody just yesterday about this, and they said, "Well, what do you think of Jim Dodson?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I owe Jim Dodson a huge debt of gratitude. He and Michael Bamberger wrote To the Linksland and Final Rounds. I read those like 4 times. I was like just absorbing them. And I thought, that's the golfer I want to be. And then I was lucky enough to be taught to play essentially by an older Scottish guy named Alan Bond, who's nicknamed Bondy. And he was some combination of like Winston Churchill, Arnie Palmer, and Sean Connery. I mean, this guy was it. He was funny. He tormented me. And that allowed me to become essentially that Scottish golfer that I am, which makes me a terrible choice, Mike. If you're ever looking for a guy in a 4.5-hour round playing stroke play, I'm great for about 3 holes, okay? And then after that, my attention span, I don't have enough things to think about.
Well, Luke, Scotland golf is, you talk about learning it from a Scot. Scotland golf is not the golf we're used to here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Why is it so different and so special in your opinion?
Well, what I love about Scottish golf is probably 3 or 4 aspects. Number one, it's person against nature. You're out in the nature, and you're going to deal with the wind, which hopefully we get to see at Kiowa this weekend. You get to see the wind, you get to see the balls bounce in a weird way. You got to accept life as it comes to you. So to me, that's number one. You're sort of taking it as it comes. Number 2, it's a very natural walk. It's a natural landform. It's not like they went out and said, let's go move a bunch of earth and make some artificial piece. It just looks like it was there. Number 3, they play fast. And number 4, they play match play. And so, if you're a guy with the attention span of a gnat like I have, it's actually wonderful to, like, if you screw something up, it's 1/18th. You're like, okay, dude, that's 6% of the round gone. Okay, I don't really care. It's not like I just made a triple. Now I'm going to shoot a 77 and I'm out of the tournament. So that's what I love about match play so much.
Now, you know that you and Jim Dodson have a couple other things in common?
I'd love to hear him.
He's been on the Stick and Hack show as well.
Absolutely.
I got to be honest. I'm going to be checking his resume to see if he's updated his Stick and Hack references. Okay, because frankly, if Dodson hasn't done that, shame on him. I don't care what else he's done in his life. He can write about Ben Hogan. He can write about Artie Palmer. Dude, tell me about Stick and Hack. Okay,
I appreciate that. No, and you're right. His stories. And that's kind of where that love affair for writing and the storytelling and the experiences came in. Your golf career is different though than most. Most start early. They're at a private club that their parents belong to, or they hit their muni because they just love the sport. You discovered it at 34. You discovered the experience in Scotland and golf in Scotland, which is where it was really born. It's quite impressive, but you love fast golf and match play, which you and I have half that in common. I love fast golf. Match play makes me irritated, and for my own reasons. Okay, I'm the hack in this little duo here, so that's the end of that conversation. Why do you love match play so much, and why would you look at that as real golf?
Well, first of all, it's despite the fact that you opened the session talking about old Tom Morris and the fact that the very first OTM. Sorry, I apologize. OTM as opposed to YTM. I apologize that OTM actually. The very first discussion you had was that he lost by 2 strokes, so it wasn't a match play event. So back in those days, they were doing it, but they played matches. That's how golf was played back then. So I think golf in Scotland, with all the vagaries, with all that stuff coming at you, it's an easier game if it's played in match play because it's sort of you against the other person as opposed to you against the field for a long period of time. I just find it a challenge. I also find it fun to have to hit a shot based on what the other person's hit or what I think they're going to hit. And that makes, to me, that's a lot of fun to go do. And I like it if you're up on the green and you're inside 15 feet, I know I have to go hit, some kind of a special shot or something like that. Whereas if we're just playing and we're playing stroke play, we just go try to grind out pars and whatnot. So I personally love it. I love the camaraderie. I love the banter. People talk a lot of trash in match play. They don't talk at stroke play very often. In match play, it's pretty much every shot. There's the mouth wedge gets moving, and I have a fairly reasonable mouth wedge.
Unless you play with Mike, either match or stroke, he doesn't say a word for 18 holes. You don't even realize he's there until he fires a 68 on you, and then you're like, oh, he was here.
Mike's 68 is of no interest to me. Where he played is cool, and if Mike is not fun, if he's not willing to, frankly, we could just have Hack and Luke join the show, and we'd be fine. Okay, I'm all in. I don't need Stick around. Okay, sorry, Stick. You're out. You're out, dude.
Let my game speak for me. That's all. That's all.
Well, see, and I don't want your game doesn't matter to me. I don't care how anybody else plays. I care whether we have fun. Okay, that's it. And
Luke,
Mike,
Mike, what about you on that match play though? Do you understand what Luke's saying and where he's coming from?
Yeah, I actually like it, and that was something we've talked about on the show before. Is that I think match play from an entertainment perspective is actually a better prospect for golf. And I would be really interested to see if there were ever a tour that were like a basically kind of like a Ryder Cup style, where you're playing match play all the time and that's all you play. Like, I feel like that is it's a much more entertaining form of competition from that perspective. And it's something that I enjoy playing match play. I don't win very often in match play because I'm typically giving too many friggin' strokes up. So,
well, okay. So Stick, let's talk about this for a second. If you were in the UK, you only give 3/4 of the differential, which always gives the benefit to the better player. But also, if you guys watched the Zurich Open about 3 weeks ago, did you watch, and I'm not saying, listen, we all know Cameron Smith and Leishman are amazing, but these guys were sort of limping in on all of the shot. It's tough. Yeah. It's tough playing that way. If they were playing their own ball, they wouldn't have been shooting some number like, 1 over for the final 5 holes, and it's just it's a different game.
Luke, tell us, switching up a little bit and getting back to kind of your writing, tell us about One for the Memory Banks and why is it a different kind of golf book?
First of all, thank you for asking me that question. One for the Memory Banks was a book that I guess I'll go to the ending first. I was taught to play by this guy who passed away just in August of 19. And I had, over the years, gathered a whole bunch of stories. And I'm the kind of guy who sits in the bar and just writes notes and laughs. And I tend to sort of make little wise answers back to people. But I'm definitely not I don't want to be the guy who's telling all the stories. And so in a nutshell, I sat down and just wrote all sorts of things out. And these stories are a collection of essentially British match play stories of how he taught me. I met this guy in the very, very beginning of my career. I had just joined Wilson Sporting Goods, and I was a tennis player, and Wilson's a much bigger tennis company than golf company. And we were all coming over, but we were like, golf is about to start growing. This is in the mid-'90s. We better all figure out how to play golf, and we all assumed it was easy. And so I sort of took one of these kind of mangled up grips, and I'm like, okay, Mr. Bond, and he's 52 and I'm 34, and he was more senior than I was. I was like, could you give me some tips? And I looked at him, and he basically, his eyes sort of glare at me for a second. He looks around the room. There are a whole bunch of people in the room, and he goes, I got a tip for you, young man. I was like, great. He goes, see that thing? And he points to the grip, and he goes, never touch it in front of an account. The moment you do, they'll know you know nothing about golf. Okay. And I was like, oh my God. Well, that could have been the end of our relationship. That would have been like over. A week later, he sends me Donald Steele's Classic Links of the UK and says, read up on this, young man, and learn how to play golf, and I'll take you to these places. And then, as luck would have it, he and I played about 65 different courses out of that book over the next 20 years.
Holy cow. So that led you into retelling these stories, showcasing golf overseas, and bringing a very different flair and flavor to stateside golfers that are used to what we have, and bringing that to life. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So what happened was then COVID hits, and all these things are a whole mess of jumble of papers. And I sat down and sort of organized them on March 13th of last year. And I said, I have A, a lot of energy, B, limitless supply of coffee, and C, a computer. Let me get this book written. And I just started pounding things out. And Adam, as you were pointing out earlier, or I just call you a hack, you're pointing out earlier, I have a very direct writing style. So it's actually tougher to write that way because you got to be very, very tight and in getting it. But I started writing these stories, and once I got 5 of them done in sort of a book format, I sent them out to a friend, and he goes, that's good. That actually works. And then I thought, okay, so I got it, and I sent it to a publisher, and I was expecting him to call me back, like a week later, and he calls me back about an hour later and says, I'm publishing your book. And this is the guy who does all the Tom Dokes books. And I was like, wait, what'd you say? And he goes, I'm your publisher. And I was like, that's fantastic. So this was like a month after I started writing it, and it was in a manuscript form. And he said, well, now let's get you an editor. And I said, before you get me an editor, do you mind if I use somebody that I want to try it with? And he said, great. So I called my daughter and I said, okay, you won the literature prize at Princeton University, and you're now in between jobs. You're going to sit down with me and help edit my book. And she's like, I'd love to. And so on Zoom, the two of us did it, and we took a book that was about 70,000 words, compressed it down into about 40,000, cut stories, made it tighter, made it funnier. I mean, she was just it was an unbelievable process of me trying to impress my daughter by making her laugh, okay? And her absolutely just running the show. And she'd say, nope, that paragraph, Dad, you went on too long. I'm like, okay, got it, cross. And so we had a blast. We had a great time, and it was fun. And then it came out in September.
Man, what a cool story! I didn't know. I knew that she was the editor, but I didn't understand how that all happened. And I certainly love the fact that on March 13th, which was literally the day the world stopped, no sports, we were all put in quarantine, and you said, "Oh, good, you had the foresight to go. I'll use this time that apparently you knew was going to be 9 months of quarantine to write a book." Just very, very cool. And golf yet again shows you how connections happen. Right. So you and not that you needed a reconnection with your daughter, but that connection with your daughter to say, look, you're in between jobs. You're going to help me. And that experience is a story in and of itself. You could probably write a book on what that was like just writing this book. That's really, really cool. And again, it shows golf's ability to connect, to entertain, to showcase, and really all the things that we love about the sport you have put into this book, and even how you wrote it. Now, your writing style is, I would call, for a topical reference, Seth Godin-esque, kind of a short and witty and this kind of just to the point type narrative. But critics of the book and reviews of the book have considered you similarly to Hemingway and Twain. Now, let me repeat that for you. So they have said that your writing style, and I'm not making this up, your writing style reminds them of Ernest Hemingway and Mark Twain and Luke Reese. In that same sentence, does that even make sense to you?
No. I mean, it's a wonderful compliment. I've heard it now like enough times that I'm sort of like, okay, I think I love a very, very straight, direct, choppy type style where it comes at you, and I like to put the jokes and any type of humor. I like to sort of pop them with like 1 or 2 word little sentences. So I can see how people have gotten the Twain. I mean, that's a massive honor, and it's almost embarrassing to say it. And I think I grew up in a small town, Ohio. Mark Twain grew up in Missouri, in Hannibal, Missouri. So I think maybe we have that same kind of wise ass, a little bit like stick it to the man kind of view. I definitely have a stick it to the man perspective. So I like to. Aunt Polly is not going to get me to do stuff. So I guess I'm thrilled. I hope people who read it, we've just gotten a lot of great responses, and the word of mouth has been fantastic on the book. So I'm honored, and no one's ever going to say you're as good a golfer as Stick, but hopefully, if somebody can say I'm a good writer, I'm pretty happy.
So let me ask you this. On a follow up there, what's more embarrassing, being compared to Twain and Hemingway, or being on the Stick and Axe show?
Oh, I mean, this is much more pressure. Okay, I mean, this is way more pressure. I'm sitting here going, I've got my heroes here, and I went to college in Indiana, so I'm like, okay, I got an Indiana thing I got to uphold here, and people assume that we're just a bunch of corn farmers. Okay, I'm like, no, we're fast and we're quick,
and we have soybeans as well.
I mean, of course, we've got soybeans. Okay, we got fields of those, and we have Gary. Okay, we got Gary up north. We got other stuff up there.
Yeah.
So,
Luke, what's one of the go-to stories at a bar that you're asked to tell and retell all the time? I'm sure you've got to have quite a few of them.
The funny thing is, this whole book came out as a process as a result of me essentially writing down stories that other people are telling. And I think I have a good memory and a good ability to like actually hear something funny and go, that's going to work. That's going to be a funny way to pull it out. So I tend to be the person at the bar who's sitting quietly and actually listening more carefully than the one who's trying to take, here, let me tell you my story. Because I'm trying to gather material.
So you don't have a go-to story? You don't have an answer here, Luke? Your entire career is built on telling stories. I'm very confused here.
Okay. First of all, Hack, are you sure that I've just told him that I'd rather play golf with you than with Stick. Now you're coming after me. So let's think about this one for a second. I probably have a go-to story. Okay, hang on. If I think about it, so Bondi and I, you guys mentioned the Claret Jug at the beginning. It was the PGA show, and I'm going to say it was 1998. So we're at the PGA show in Orlando in 1998. And a guy had left our company and gone over to a competitor. And he was a very close friend, and he was a very funny guy. His name's Jeff Uris, so I've now outed him. And Jeff Uris comes walking in, and you guys will remember, this was a time period where one company actually had two of the majors in their little stable. It's TaylorMade. And as he comes walking, he goes, "Hey guys, I got to run to the restroom. Would you just watch my boxes for my luggage for me?" And Bondi and I, Alan Bond, the guy to the book, and I looked down and we're like, "That box is the Claret Jug." And
holy cow!
And so we're like, no problem, Jeff, no problem. And he walks away, and Bondi and I immediately take it and dash off with it. Okay, so we steal the Claret Jug. Okay, and we run straight over to the bar and fill it. Okay. I mean, and we are handing it around, a whole bunch of us, everybody drinking out of it. And by the way, there's a little devil. If you look at the Claret Jug itself, at the very, very top piece, the little lid here like this is a devil. Sort of freaky, okay? And we're like, okay, we're taking close-up shots and all around. And at the end of it, he comes walking out to check in, and of course, we're gone. He immediately breaks into a full body sweat, freaking out, and he looks over at the bar, and there are like five of us over there holding up the Claret Jug, drinking out of it. So I guess that would be my Claret Jug story.
I guess that would be a story, Luke.
Yeah.
There we go.
That would be a story. There we go. Glad we got there.
I appreciate it. Okay.
That's awesome. What a great story. Luke, the love affair for golf is real for most people almost instantly. Why do you think that is?
I think that first of all, once you actually see a ball airborne in flight, I mean, once you watch the ball take off, it's just like, oh my gosh, I could do this. And it's sort of fun. It's a frustrating game. None of us can ever, okay, of course, Stick accepted. None of us really actually master this thing. We don't become that good, okay? Even if we're 3 handicaps, there's a double bogey just hanging out there waiting for you no matter what. And that's what's so fun about it. It's never, and you get to play in a different place. I don't recall anyone ever calling me and saying, "Hey, let's go on a trip and go play tennis at these new courts." Okay? It just doesn't happen. I mean,
no.
Oh, gee, have you seen how those baselines are drawn? Cool. They're 4 inches instead of 3. Okay? I mean, it just doesn't happen. So we're sitting here with a sport that it has infinite variety. You're playing on a piece of art, and you're interacting with your friends out in nature. I mean, I'm sorry. What part of the sport could you not love?
You love to showcase the courses that people don't talk about and aren't famous. You know, why is that? And tell some of your faves and why.
Okay. I part of what I wanted to get across in the whole concept of this book was the fact that this isn't just about links golf. Isn't like you must go play these 10 courses. It's sort of like the whole concept of like it's Tuesday, it must be Paris. It's Wednesday, it must be Amsterdam. There are so many great things that you can do when you play golf that aren't just the open courses, that aren't just the ones that we all talk about. And my favorite times, frankly, have been going to some small little town and paying about 17 pounds, the equivalent of $25 US, to go play for the entire day. Okay. When you go out and you're just like, reload, you play a second 18, then you're sitting there at dinner and you're like, it's still light outside, and why don't we bring the average cost down to about 5 pounds a round, okay? And you go run out, you go play some more. That to me is fun, and I just think golf is this localized, fun place that really every person plays it. It's from the taxi driver up to the wealthiest person in town, and it just doesn't matter. And everybody can get along in Scotland, and everybody can get along on those kind of courses. And I sort of wanted to highlight these are the kind of places that are just a blast to play.
Oh, wow. That's a good point. I didn't realize that. That does sound, it sounds like Mike's weekend, actually, that you just described.
Minus somebody telling you about the scores. Go ahead.
Luke, thank you so much for being on the program. TheMemoryBanks.com for more information on his book, which came out in September. Go read it. It is what you heard today is what the book is. It's exciting. It's high octane and it's very witty, very very clever, but some incredible stories and some incredible showcases of not just the connection, the community, and the camaraderie of golf, but some of the ways that people play and utilize golf in their life. It's fantastic, Luke. You're going to stick around for in or out here in just a second, yes?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be back with you in just a second. Good. Mike, all right, so it's time now for our takeaway. I'll let you go first. Takeaway from Luke Reese.
Yeah, really my takeaway is just it's a fascinating career that Luke's had, and I really enjoyed hearing his perspective on what he enjoys about golf that is a little bit different from the perspective of he enjoys match play, and that's something you don't hear a lot. But it's when you think about it, it is really golf in its purest form. And that was just something that I thought was so fascinating, that he really prefers match play to even keeping track of score and playing stroke play.
My takeaway was very simple. That's his excitement for golf. When he was giving his bio at the very beginning, he was going through his career, and he was kind of breezing right past some of the non-essential items of his life. And then he got to golf, and all of a sudden he kind of woke up. And the entire interview, that's how he was. We're talking about him like he's not in the green room here, waiting to come back. But his entire excitement for golf is still there today. But I think the biggest takeaway for me is that he started golf at 34 and instantly fell in love with it. And so much so that it became his life, so much so that he traveled, that he met incredible people, drank beer out of the claret jug, and is now a published author. Just very, very cool. It's one of those bios and those stories that he should probably have a book written about, just about his little golf life, because there's stories like that all over the place. So very, very cool. Luke, you're back. You're ready now for a game called In or Out. All right. This is
fantastic. Look forward to it.
Classic sticker hack game where we play at the end of the show. In or Out. These are, we have a list of people. And for the current threesome, we are wanting our fourth person. So this is in or out of our foursome at any course, pick a course. This is just to play golf with us, okay? Unfortunately, you will have to play with Mike. That is part of the game. All right, in or out. These are Cubs players from history.
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Cubs players from history. In or out of our foursome. And Luke, we're going to start with you, and then we'll go to Mike, and then we'll go to myself. All right? Sammy Sosa.
Out.
Yeah.
In. Sosa, just when he hits a big drive, I just want to see him do this. That's all I want in the whole wide world.
I want to see him do it the foursome behind me. Okay, that's fine. But he'll hit over our head. He'll hit it over our heads. He'll bounce around. But I got to say, there's going to be a little bit of juice required in this ball. He's going to have a different kind of golf ball or something else. He's not playing the same rules we're playing. Okay, keep going.
All right, Rick Sutcliffe.
Oh, in for sure. Cool, absolutely. He'll make that 6-footer to finish the match. He'll close out stick. Okay.
100%.
At the end.
Well, then he's in for me right away.
For me, yeah. He's in for me for sure.
All right. Mark Pryor.
Oh, sorry. He's going to, Mark Pryor, loved him for that very, very brief moment when he was there.
For a week.
But, for about a week and a half. I'm going to say Pryor got hurt. Pryor got hurt a bunch of times. I loved his potential. I'll take Kerry Wood. I'm sorry, you're probably going to ask him later, but Pryor's out. Sorry.
Pryor's out. This is in or out Cubs players from history. Mike.
You know what? Pryor's in for me, I think. Yeah.
No,
hang on. Stick, do you know he pulled himself out? He was throwing a no-no, and he pulled himself out in the seventh inning.
I know.
I mean, do you really? Okay, I got an idea. Hey, Hack and I are perfectly happy to play 2 balls against your 1 for the final 6 holes. Keep going.
I'm in for that.
Okay. I bet you are. All right, in or out Cubs players from history is Derek Lee.
In for sure. Except for the fact that he hit a lot of doubles and not a lot. I don't know. It seemed like that ball always sort of went up with a little top spin on it, but I liked him a lot.
I bet he's a bogey golfer. Derek Lee, in or out, Mike?
He's in for me. Yeah.
All right, he's in for me as well. That's I think our first all in. All right, Ryan Dempster.
Love Brian Dempster. Absolutely. 100% in. Very funny guy, too. Very funny.
Mike?
Dempster's in for me, yeah.
Brian Dempster is out for me.
Oh, you. Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Fine.
Okay. I'm looking at
those.
him as only as his time with the Cubs. I know he's had a funny career and he's got some good things happen after, but Cubs career, no thanks.
You know what? I love Brian Dempster, but go ahead. That's fine. I love that whole 07-08 team, except when they got to the playoffs. Keep going.
Ben Zobrist, in or out?
100% in. No matter what shot you require, no matter what's required, he'll find a way to do it. He's not the best player, but he's going to make it. If you need something, you need a guy to make it up and down, it's Zobrist.
I'm in with Zobrist, yeah. Yeah, he's in.
The only thing you can say about Zobrist is bottom of the 8th, World Series 2016. What happened? Bingo.
That's it.
Zobrist is in.
You'd hate to be the pitcher facing Zobrist. You're like, why did Zobrist have to come up against me? That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
In or out, Cubs players from history. We go to Ron Santo.
I have a Ron Santo golf story. Okay, but Ron Santo's in for sure, but not as my partner. Okay, I just don't think Ron was the kind of guy who I'd want as my partner. I'd like him as my opponent.
Mike?
Santo's in for me. Yeah, absolutely.
So my gamer tag when I was younger and played video games before I had 1,000 kids and couldn't do it anymore was HOF Santo, Hall of Fame Santo. That was my gamer tag. So
love it.
Come on, he's in.
Okay. After this game, after we're off the air, I'll tell you my Ron Santo Fuzzy Zeller story. Okay, go ahead.
Sure, Luke. We'll be off the air. All right, okay. Next. In or out, Cubs players from history, Stan Hack. That goes way back.
But we got to play gutta percha and like wood clubs and the whole thing. I mean, we got Evers and Chance coming up here at some point too. I'm going to have to say yes because I know nothing about him. Okay.
All right, Mike.
I'm out just because his last name's Hack.
I'm in because his last name's Hack.
There we go.
All right, Soriano. Alfonso Soriano, in or out, Cubs players from history, stick or hat.
I personally would put Soriano in. Now, you're going to tell I'm a Cubs fan. I personally would put Soriano in. I thought he was amazing. It's not his fault that the Cubs paid him too much money in 2006. And that when he went on a tear, I'm convinced he'd make about 11 birdies over 2 rounds of golf. And who knows where else he'd be on the other shots. But loved his arm. I loved his bat.
Mike?
Soriano's in for me for sure. I loved him.
All right, I'm going to go in. It's against what I thought I was going to say. I think it would be cool to have him play with us. Yes, there's a good chance he would miss the ball completely, as he did thousands of times.
Double bogey or eagle? He's a double bogey or eagle player.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, last one. In or out, Cubs players from history. Carlos Zambrano.
You'd have to want to play with Carlos.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to be told what to do by his partner or his caddy or anybody else. But God bless him. I liked Zambrano, but I'm glad I didn't have to ever manage him or deal with him.
Mike?
He's out for me.
I bet that guy, he's in for me because I want to see him lose his the whole 3. Right?
I think he could take Stick. I mean, Stick's a bigger guy than I am. I don't want to have to go head to head with Stick, but if I need him, Carlos, hey, Z-Man, go after him. So that's it.
Zambrano would snap me in half.
You know what I love about this, Mike? And this is the first time we played Stick or Hack or In or Out every show for the last 35 episodes. And nobody has given the thought and the backstory and the true reasons for their decisions more than you, Luke. That was perhaps the most, I guess, well-rounded In or Out we've ever had. So
I agree. Absolutely.
Tip to the cap to you, sir.
Absolutely.
I deeply appreciate that. And that's going on my resume as well. Okay.
It should. Well, there you go, everybody. Luke
Quite
Reese,
subjective.
Author and businessman and golfer and world traveler.
That's what the book looks like. There we go.
One
Thanks.
for the Memory Banks is the book. Go to his website and find out more about it, and go, I assume, where books are sold, wherever those may be today.
Amazon and the website, yeah.
Outstanding. TheMemoryBanks.com is the website. Luke, thank you so much for being part of the show. The Stick and Hack Show, quite possibly the greatest show in the world from the greatest golf club in the world without the course. Mike, great show. Proud of you. Have a great day and enjoy your weekend.
Proud of you, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, later.
Okay, we're done. This has been the Stick and Hack Show. Go to stickandhack.com to become a free member of the world's greatest golf club without the course.